One of these 5 people is an imposter. This is an undeniable fact. Someone murdered Strelitzia, and now her rulebook is in the possession of one of these 5. This video aims to discuss a possible scenario behind Strelitzia's grim murder, and see if by solving one of Kingdom Hearts Union Cross's biggest mysteries, we can't also crack open some of the other big lingering ones too. Let's begin. To quickly recap, we must first start this video by looking at the exact moment that the Master of Masters gives Ava her role. The Master invites Ava into his chambers, as he did with all the other foretellers, to tell her the reason that she was chosen as his apprentice. He wants Ava to seek out Keyblade wielders with potential and recruit them to join the Dandelions, a group that will escape into an alternate reality when the Keyblade War dawns and survive. And in that new reality, there will be 5 new Union leaders that the Master has specifically selected, and whose names he has written on a list. One of these chosen 5, whose name is circled in red, will also secretly receive their own copy of the Book of Prophecies that the other 4 aren't to know about, and with it will shape the world into what it's supposed to be. Most everyone believes Strelitzia's name should definitely be on this list. However, the remaining 4 names on the list are the cause of great conjecture. To start finding whose name does not belong, a logical approach might be to start looking at the evidence Union Cross itself provides. For example, we might first look at the people that Ava specifically recruited to become Union leaders, and therefore the ones we don't see are prime suspects to be the imposter. Through Union Cross cutscenes, we do see Ephema being recruited to join the Dandelions, and the night that he was promoted to becoming a leader. A few months later, we do see Skull being recruited, but we never see her promoted. I have always inferred though, from her diligence in following Ava's instructions and insistence that we join the Dandelions, it seems quite obvious that she was promoted soon after. We never see Laurium or Ventus being recruited to become Dandelions, or promoted to leaders, though we do know that Laurium insisted that Strelitzia join, which to me seems that he knew the truth and how serious it was, and can therefore be inferred that he was promoted. Strelitzia is only promoted to her position as leader mere days before the Keyblade War, months after Ava was given the role and the list. I've always found this very curious, but let's move on. Finally, Brain. We do see Brain be recruited by Ava in the November Kingdom Hearts Union Cross story update, who acts differently this time than every other time we've seen her. She talks far more this time about changing the future and denying a fate that's been pre-written. As she says this, she hands Brain the Book of Prophecies. It sounds like we know which name is circled in red on the Master's list. And that settles half the list, right? Ephema, Strelitzia, and Brain must be on it, and Brain must be the one circled in red, and therefore the imposter must be one of these 3, right? Case half closed. Now let's narrow it down. Well, maybe. I'm not so sure. Let's at least do our due diligence and review our 3 imposter suspects, remembering that they are suspects of not only being the imposter, but also murdering Strelitzia. Laurium is the formerly obvious choice. His nobody, after all, carries the moniker of the Graceful Assassin. He was introduced in the update that showed Strelitzia's murder. It was all too perfect. However, subsequent updates showing Laurium as a caring brother, desperate to find out why she disappeared, seem to have taken the wind out of that theory's sails. This could all be a ploy to divert attention from him, but let's move on for now. Skuld, in my opinion, the least expected choice. All we know about Skuld is that she seems kind and caring, a good friend to Ephema and ourselves, and a faithful follower of Master Ava's instructions. Both Master Gula and Ven remark that she is always doing the right thing, just like Master Ava. There really doesn't seem to be any indication that she could have anything to do with this plot, though given her potential involvement with Kingdom Hearts 3's plot, we can't rule her out just yet. Ventus is a fan favourite theory. Given that Kingdom Hearts Union Cross is allegedly a prequel to the rest of the series, at this point in his life, Ven presumably has not begun training under Master Xehanort, and therefore has not had his darkness forcibly removed from his heart to create its own being, Vanitas. Meaning that all of the malicious evil and darkness that is Vanitas still lingers within Ven's heart. Is Ven's own natural light enough to keep that evil within himself at bay? Could the original, complete Ven have been capable of murder? Throughout Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, Ven's light is constantly being brought up as being weaker than Vanitas' darkness. In fact, the entire point of dragging Ven away from his home was to make him stronger, and equal to Vanitas' darkness, to ensure the forging of the Keyblade. Meaning that as an unseparated, complete being, Ven could be more darkness than light. Hell, he even wields the missing Ache Keyblade. A nod to Roxas wielding it in 358 over 2 days for sure, but within Union Cross itself, that is a more darkness-aligned Keyblade. While it is a fun theory with a lot of evidence behind it, I'm not completely convinced just yet. To my mind, no one sticks out in particular just yet. Let's review the relevant events and see if any more light is shed on this case. Originally, Master Ava was given a very important role by the Master of Masters. She is solely responsible for keeping the light alive by ensuring that some wielders make it to the next world, under the guidance of 5 new Union leaders. Everyone else, her fellow foretellers included, will die, locked in combat with each other over a pointless war. The Master tells her that she is the only one who can do this, and she diligently follows his orders, never straying, such as when Ased tries to form an alliance to join forces and fight back the darkness. Ava refuses. When her best friend Gula begs Ava to help him summon Kingdom Hearts and try and bring back the Master, Ava refuses, both times citing that she cannot betray the Master's orders, always having faith that he knew what was best, believing that the Master was trying to save the world, to save everyone. As part of carrying out her role, Ava recruits the 5 new leaders. Her final recruitment seems to take place mere days before the Keyblade War, when she finds Strelitzia. This is the same day that we fight Master Ased in the Fountain Square and fall unconscious. Strelitzia begins to search for us, we search for Ava, and Ava searches for the Master, desperate for him to save them from their gruesome end. Let's look at this final day. Strelitzia waits by the fountain where we can often be found, and logically will be found today. We run around Daybreak Town looking for Ava with no success. However, we know that Gula and Ava are good friends and resolve to find him instead. Ava comes across Lushu in her search for the Master of Masters. Elraina's Chirithy and Strelitzia's Chirithy notice us walking into the abandoned building, upon which Strelitzia's teleports away to fetch her. We enter the building and find Gula, where he begins discussing the secrets of the lost page. Ava and Lushu begin discussing too, but Ava quickly grows frustrated with Lushu's cryptic answers. He seems to imply that the Master planned all this turmoil, the pitting of wielder against wielder, the backstabbing and secrecy, the imminent loss of countless lives, all out of curiosity, to see what the foretellers would do and what would come after. Strelitzia's Chirithy, rather than teleporting to Strelitzia's side as all other Chirithys are seen easily able to do, walks up to her and says it has found us. We don't see the entire conversation between Lushu and Ava, but whatever is said shattered Ava's spirit. She flat out refuses to believe that this could be true and lashes out at Lushu, reasoning that he must be the traitor. The clash causes the bells in Daybreak Town's tower to ring, officially ushering in the Keyblade War. As we and Skald leave Gula, Skald tells us she will now go and join the Dandelions and leave this world, hoping that we will join her and survive. However, Dark Chirithy goads us into staying, and we do battle with a demonic creature. Upon its defeat, Dark Chirithy says that the bond between itself and us has been severed, and that it will see us in another dream. Strelitzia finally arrives, saying that she has searched everywhere else, which is odd. Her Chirithy should have known exactly which building to look in. She enters the gloomy room, and unfortunately we all know what happens next. A shadowy figure attacks the unsuspecting wielder, and takes her rulebook. Days later, the Dandelions have all escaped, and the Keyblade War begins. Our character fights 4 foretellers, including Master Ava. She is radically different than the last time we saw her. Her spirit is completely broken, and she challenges us directly. But loyal to the Master to the end, here she is, fighting to the death for him, despite the fact that she probably could have escaped to the new reality too. As the only surviving combatant, barely, we collapse in exhaustion, but our life is saved by Skald and Ephema, who return and take us to the alternate reality with them. Unfortunately, that didn't seem to shed much light on our 3 suspects, but the conversation between Master Ava and Lushu is something I feel we must take a closer look at. We have seen how utterly devoted Master Ava was to her Master's teachings. She was plucked out of nowhere and given a brand new name, Keyblade, and sense of importance as Master Ava, leader of the Volpus Union. Granted a magical book that contains the events of the future, and told that she was uniquely qualified to protect the light of the world. Why would Master Ava have any reason to think that the Master wanted anything but the best for her, the rest of the wielders, and the world? To that end, she denied her comrades' attempts to avert the future with their own plans, ever faithful that the Master knew what was best, and with increasing desperation went to look for him herself. Lushu read to her from the lost page, and told her of the Master's intentions, and though we don't get to see exactly what was said, when we cut back, Lushu's next words are, "Now that you know who the traitor is, can you accept it?" Can you imagine the complete disbelief and betrayal she must have felt when she heard Lushu's words as he read from the lost page, implying that the Master of Masters could care less about this world and the people in it. He was only playing them to orchestrate his own grand schemes. And what was worse was that Ava had been complicit. She had recruited 5 new leaders to be subjugated to more of his bizarre machinations in a new reality, and the cycle was about to begin all over again. And worst of all, I believe Lushu told Ava that she was the traitor. Now that you know who the traitor is, Can you accept it? It is clear she could not. But why would Ava be the traitor, you might ask? Gula's reading from the lost page seems to imply that the traitor is the one that will bring about the war by sounding the clock tower bells, which is exactly what Ava causes to happen only moments later. Perhaps Ava planned to not see the war through to its conclusion, and instead guide the dandelions into the new world, avoiding her written fate of dying on the battlefield. Luciu does, after all, tell her to follow her fate and fight, implying that she may have been thinking against that action. Likely still full of disbelief, confusion and rage, let's posit that Ava returned to her closest friend Gula to confide in him. If he truly held the lost page after all, then at least he could disprove or corroborate the things that Luciu had said. But back in the abandoned warehouse, Ava returned to find Gula had already left his hiding place, likely gathering up his Leopardus followers to prepare for the final battle. She was now in a desperate situation, completely alone. The world was about to end, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. But as fate would have it, who should walk in at that exact moment but Strelitzia, one of the Master's chosen 5, a poor girl about to be subjected to whatever bizarre machinations the Master had in store for her. Looking at Strelitzia, Ava saw the future of the Master's plans being carried out uninterrupted with his carefully chosen 5 new pawns in his game. Unless, of course, Ava did something to stop him. And in that moment, Ava made a desperate, terrible choice. She would change the future, irrevocably. Ava quietly summoned her Keyblade, stepped out from the darkness, and fatally struck the unsuspecting Strelitzia, stealing back from her the green rulebook she'd been given only the day before. The book that only she and the Master of Masters himself could have even known she held. Now, all that was left to do was find someone to take Strelitzia's place. Someone that wouldn't even know they weren't the original owner of the rulebook, because as far as they knew, they were always the #1 pick. I believe this is when Ava chose Brain and asked him to meet her. Notice Ava's demeanor in this scene, rather factual and cold, talking as much about his views on changing the future as much as his position as a union leader. She puts the list of 5 names in his book of prophecies and asks that he not look at it. Now that may make you say, well, hang on. If Brain now has the list of 5 names, as soon as he reads it, he'll know he isn't on the list. That can't be right. To me, that's exactly why Ava gave the list to him. What better demonstration of the ability to change the future than for Brain to read that list and discover that he himself has altered the course of fate and is a union leader when he was never supposed to be. With her counterplan in motion, the devastated Ava, her heart filled with rage, sorrow, shame and regret, joined her Volpus followers on the final battlefield, where she did as was written and fought her fellow wielders to the death, even attacking our character. For Ava intended to die that day. As it was written, darkness would prevail and light expire. Well, now the Master's 5 chosen lights were to perish, but the girl beneath the mask would live on, taking on a new name and identity. Light expires, darkness prevails. Well then, Ava decided to be known as Darkness. Slipping away from the conflict, she followed the dandelions into the new world, as she would know how to do, and began acting on her revenge against the Master of Masters.
What you must remember is that anyone can lose themselves to the darkness.
In the new world, Luciu observes all of this in his secret reports, sensing that a virus in the Master's carefully laid program has taken the place of one of the Master's chosen 5, a moniker that Brain himself is also fond of. Centuries later, after Master Xehanort's defeat, Luciu would summon the other foretellers back from their graves. However, Ava was not among them. Luciu could only smile to himself as he relayed to the bewildered 4 that Ava had her own role to play, and she carried it out. What poor Ava didn't realize was that even her rejection of the Master's will was exactly what he had planned. Thank you so much for watching this video. I've been working on this one for quite a while after watching the amazing video Ava is Darkness by The Secret Reports. I highly encourage you to all check it out. This theory is gaining a lot of traction now, but I think she was way ahead of the curve on this one. As of the time of recording, we are 2 updates out of the 4 big Promised Union Cross story updates, and I'll be compiling a story recap video of all of those very soon. Thanks again for watching, guys. Reminders on the way, and I can't wait to experience it all with you. All the best, guys. Thanks so much. See you soon. Bye.